We have a lot of material on AI, and I think this one's going to be particularly good. Our session is Re-Architecting Retail, Preparing for the Age of Agentic AI and Agency Commerce. And I will start this off by introducing the CEO of Fabric, Mike Micucci. Mike, take it away, please, sir.
Well, thank you, Alan. Hi, everybody. Thank you for attending. My name is Mike Micucci. I'm the CEO here at Fabric. And we are really excited to talk today. I'm sure you're going to guess what the topic will be around AI, just in case you haven't had that topic. And joined by a great panel. And I'll just do a quick intro because we don't have a ton of time. But Laura, VP of Marketing at New York company. My friend Umesh, who's CDO and CTO over at PetMeds. Do you have any other titles, Umesh?
No, that's it.
That's
two
it
for now.
Today?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep adding them. And Aaron at Full Glass Wineries, or Wine, sorry. And you are the head of marketing there.
That's right.
All right, well, great. Well, we have been chatting a bit about the topic. And the topic we put up here is really around how do you prepare in this kind of reshape of the world with AI. And I'm sure we've all talked about the trends and heard about the trends, and as a tech guy, live this every day. And the numbers are staggering. Every kind of tech shift moves faster than the previous one. And AI has been no different. We saw some recent numbers come out of OpenAI. OpenAI announced, I think it was about a month ago, they hit roughly 800 million in monthly active users. That growth, they anticipate they're adding about 1 million users a minute to their platform. We've never seen a tech adopt this fast in the history of tech. And this is kind of traditional, like every new cycle adopts faster, but this is frankly in a gear we've never seen before. To give you a perspective, TikTok is about 1.5 billion monthly active users. So at this rate, you more than expect that OpenAI and the other systems will quickly eclipse that. So that gathering of attention, that usage is amazing. And some of the things that have driven that have been their new reasoning models, O1, O3, that are obviously providing a much deeper set of insights to come out. And then, of course, their ability now with the native apps, particularly on iOS, that they're able to be right front and center where the users are. And this clearly is going to adopt and drive a profound change about how people shop and how they engage with your brand. And that's really the topic today, is with this trend moving this fast, and particularly Gen Zs and even millennials adopting this technology really quickly. How does that potentially change the consumer behavior? And maybe just kicking it off to our panel, are you seeing a change in your organic search today? And can you attribute that maybe to AI? And maybe we'll start with Laura, since you're right here off to my side. You knew you were going to be first? All right, Umesh just dive in on this.
Yeah, he's really going to be the one you want to pay attention to. But, I think we were discussing, we haven't really seen a huge dip in the organic search yet. For me, things that are coming off of chat or AI they're huge increases, but it's still so low that it's nothing significant. So we personally are somewhat nervous and preparing for it, but more focused on the data and what that needs to. There's so much underlying things that have to happen first before we really address. I heard this term GEO, the generative SEO, which would probably become a new metric for us.
GEO, generative
engine optimization.
Wow. Okay, write that down.
Yeah.
Let's get that one.
Pro tip.
I mean, we were talking earlier about ASO, Agentic Search Optimization.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll figure out. Well, maybe we'll have a poll later. We'll vote which term should we be using. We can popularize that. What do you think?
Just to continue on the same topic, Mike kicked it off by saying there's about 800 million users using OpenAI today. But just to add another level of detail in there, there's 8 billion queries are being run on a daily basis. So which is phenomenal to actually see the growth. Because users are great, but the behavior is the one that actually sticks, and we can see that this is actually moving in the right direction. So 8 billion is huge, and we're also seeing that Gemini is close to about 1 billion queries. So the adoption is slowly but steadily picking up. If you look at the rate at which this has started, SEO or Google did not have this sort of rate of growth when they started off. It took them about 10 years to get to that levels. But this is less than 18 to 24 months. We're actually seeing this phenomenal growth. To actually answer your question that you asked me, from a PetMeds perspective, what we are seeing, again, being on the retail side, we see, I was sharing with Mike the other day that when I look at my Google Analytics and then I break down the traffic, it's more about bots hitting, when I say bots, I mean the GPT bots, hitting our website and trying to source the data. So we're seeing more of bots coming into our website, especially on the PDP side, getting the content, sourcing the content. So when the bots are doing it, there is a side effect to it. It means that some customer has actually started to use that behavior. So when that initiative gets kicked off from an external user or from a customer perspective, bots start to see the trend, and that trend starts to build up onto the retailer side and grabbing onto that content. So to go back to the metric, we're not seeing a decline from an SEO perspective. SEO has been flat and instead it's growing. The GPT bots are not yet classified by the analytics platform, so they are now falling into your direct traffic. So we've seen our direct traffic increase by north of 20%, which is phenomenal, which means a lot of bots are out there trying to source data so that they can drive the right recommendation for the customer. But the outcome truly from a customer perspective is coming very soon.
So you're looking at, you see kind of traffic via measured the bot as
GPT bots, yeah.
GPT bots. And you're able to measure that, Umesh?
I have to break it down I mean, if I can take 2 minutes to go into the details of it. In your traditional analytics platform, bots are being filtered out by your analytics software, whether you're using Adobe or Google Analytics or whatever it is. With GPT bots, it's still slow. The analytics platforms has not gone in there. What we can do is we can look at each and every session, break it down by agents and break it down by session time, duration, and transaction. So you can immediately see that the natural human being cannot exit out of a website less than a second. So you can automatically attribute it to bots who's actually consuming the content and exiting the site.
You haven't seen my kids shop. They're pretty fast. Yeah, they're very fast.
My reflexes are a little slow at this age.
Awesome. And Aaron, and by the way, I think they're having a little trouble hearing us in the back of the room, so I think we have to speak up just a little bit.
All right. Yeah. From our side, from everything going on in AI, you're probably going to get a lot more from Mary Meeker than you will from me. I think there's a lot of really interesting insights recently coming out of that. But from our side, kind of similar. Full Glass Wine, we own a portfolio of direct-to-consumer wine companies. And they're designed to be able to have people from all different segments of the wine drinking audience. So what's interesting for us is, yes, the absolute growth, the percentage increase over this year is huge. It's 500-something%. Absolute numbers, quite small. But where it does get interesting is how we're able to see, based on the customer demographics that are most aligned with each of these brands, our younger brand that has a younger customer base does have the highest percentage of growth, with a little over 1% of traffic coming from LLMs. So again, not tons, small percentage, whereas our brand that has the oldest customer base actually has the lowest. So it's actually interesting how we can see across our portfolio of brands how different age cohorts are leaning into these tools differently. And I think the main point is how do we make sure we get set up properly based on now if we can start to see this. How are we structuring our business, our plans, our processes to be able to take advantage of it as that search increase does continue to grow? And then also with very limited data tools. I think some of us are a little bit farther along than others. But then on the flip to that, the exciting part is we're all just starting, right? So it's really great to be in an environment where no one is expected to have all the answers. It's okay to have your hand up. It's okay to reach out to colleagues and peers and ask how people are tackling it. So we're so early in it. I'm really excited to be in this position so that we can actually take advantage of it in the future.
Anything you might share, just a follow-on question around things you've learned already on the demographic side with the AI input?
Yeah, so what we're seeing, we have a brand, Wink, wine subscription business, and that's the one that is seeing the most adoption of traffic coming from LLMs. And as you can imagine from there, ChatGPT is the lion's share, then we have Gemini, then it really gets small after that. So to use that as an example, I think where we're not clear on understanding is what is bringing them in. What we know the traffic is coming from there, right? But as the tools are obfuscated to understand what is the search string or the query that's bringing people in, that's how we have to start thinking about how are we setting ourselves up from a structure standpoint to be able to take advantage of the future. Whereas our oldest demographic brand, it's also a different use case where people are buying a pack of 18, bottles of wine at a time, right? So they're different use case. It's 4th of July. I need a bunch of whites. That's a different use case than someone looking for this Camus, 1993. So like all of a sudden, you start to look to understand, well, what is a driving force? How do you get in the customer's head to understand what they're searching, why they would be searching, and how do you structure your data in a way that makes it more elegant to take advantage of the bots that are coming in.
Pretty interesting. Well, Aaron, first, thank you for not putting me in the older demographic.
Old as a pendulum.
Yeah, great pro tip on that. Okay, so let's dive in a little bit deeper. So far, we've seen, I think Perplexity with Buy with Me, I think, or Buy with Pro. Gemini came out, Google I/O with their own kind of shopping, kind of buy capability, although it only works with Google Pay. And we, of course, have Amazon Buy with Me. And I'm going to guess if Apple buys Perplexity, which I would bet it's going to happen, it wouldn't have leaked out, you will see something integrated into Apple Pay quite soon. So thinking through that, like now flipping the lens for all of us, and I'm sure there'll be many more announcements over the next couple of months with the amount of investment going on. How do you see that? How would you say you are thinking about preparing for this future and what that might mean? Okay, so we're going to switch to this one. So maybe we can kick it off. Aaron, why don't we start with you? We'll work the other way around. What are you thinking about? What guidance can you give this room?
Yeah, I think when we get to agentic shopping, the narrative shifts quite a bit, right? All of a sudden, we always, as marketers, want to be the owner of the customer. We want to understand what they're looking for, what they want. If that becomes to dumb it down, a bot, all of a sudden you start to think who is the customer? How do I think about design? How do I think about brand? How do I think about showing up and making sure we have this beautiful brand experience? Does that shift in the future to be, how do we have the most efficient experience? And now a lot of those will have a lot of overlap, but I think that's a key component. And then making sure we have the right data structure and set. Like, for example, I think I was telling some folks, we caught ourselves a little surprised how much of our site structures and things are designed on tags that we weren't using from metadata. So that is a quick, how do we undo, redo, kind of mindset. So it's really making sure, understanding, yes, in the end, the person with the credit card is the customer, but how do they find and access the content and the products you're trying to sell? How do you make that as simple as possible for a LLM bot, whatever we want to call it, to actually be able to find size, price, colors, all the things, add to cart and check out as quickly as possible. That becomes very important, I think, quite quickly.
Aaron, just to follow on, have you taken any steps today to restructure any of your data to optimize for that?
Yeah, the first step was like, holy shit, look at how much, where I actually realized it from our CRM, how much we were relying on tags, product tags, to do all these triggers, as opposed to metadata fields that people are actually shopping and taking action on. So that was the moment where I was like, oh wow, we are not structured to be able to handle this correctly. So then now working with team, trying to fill all the data, tear away from tags, shove into metadata in an elegant way that is manageable. And what is the smartest, fastest, easiest way to do this? Okay, what are the AI tools that can allow us to do this more quickly and efficiently, but also find enhancements along the way? So that's where we're at right now. We're not, on day one. We're barely at day two, though, right? Like we're not very far in this process.
Got it. Laura,
Sure.
What about you guys?
I think one of the advantages that we have is that we're a small team and we're agile. And we're limited resources in terms of budget and things. We are going through acquisitions and all kinds of things are happening. So we kind of were forced early on to think of things in a new way because we didn't have like the tremendous amount of resources we had previously. And it all started with Gen AI, more on the creative side for us and creating content, visual content and PDB content through AI, which got us to say, well, if we're able to achieve, this, not only is it cost effective, but it's, time effective and resource effective, what else should we be doing? And also, let's think about AI in an optical way. What other things in shopping experiences? We know that the creative has driven so much in conversion. What other ways should we be showing up for the customer in a more of like how her experience is versus necessarily, optimizing for outcomes necessarily. So we, definitely explored agent chat as the next step for us, but a lot of it is dependent on the structure of the data behind it. So then we went back into PIM, and we've been same thing. We've been working on meta fields and data enrichment, so that still being a small team, how can we get all those? It's enough to you need types of data that can add more, right, than just a regular prompt or a chat response. And that's been something we've really relied on vendors for. So not only are our vendors going to assist us in our softwares as well to enrich our data or to help us add the types of things that whether it's chat's looking for it, whether it's on-site looking for it, because it's such a huge undertaking. Hopefully it'll just evolve over time and get easier for us. But it's really been a challenge. And what else? Other ways?
I think just real quick, the chat is interesting because I think many of us are probably using AI partners for chat. For us, what we found, so in the wine industry, there's a bunch of different sizes and types of bottles. One bottle size is actually called a Jenny. It's a 500 milliliter. It's 2/3 the size of a full bottle. All this to say, so our chat agent we named Jenny because she's actually about 2/3 as effective as a real live agent. So when we're using that, and when customers are engaging, they know this is a chat bot, but the expectation though is a little different. Where's my order? Simple, easy, things like that. But as soon as it starts to get a little more challenging, we can move to someone who can actually really lean in and help that customer. And I think it's understanding what are the right handoff points, the right prompts, the right things like that to make that more efficient, and understanding the limitations along the way.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. So with that, Umesh, how are you thinking about getting your data and your kind of systems ready for kind of this changing in behavior?
There are three different factors from how we're thinking about it at PetMeds. One is content readiness, which is, Aaron spoke really well. I always have this saying that content is king, but the platforms are kingmaker. I think the second inning of that is coming up now. So again, the same players that we've seen in digital marketing, which is Google's and Meta's of the world, are now investing heavily from an AI perspective. So as retailers, it forces us, and it also makes us think in a different way that we need to have and shape our content in AI-ready mode or agent-ready mode, so we can take advantage of those platforms. Second is the behavior optimization. So to an extent, customer experience creates adoption. So we're seeing Google now training the customers with their AI mode and saying how you can be savvy from prompt engineering, use your natural language to get the results that you want. Intent matches the expectation. The one drawback from search, we're now talking about search drawbacks. So one drawback from the search is you have to peruse through the results to find the result that actually matches your search criteria. AI actually makes it even more faster and quicker and easier for our customers. So it's intent to expectation matching or instant gratification. I think that's the new norm. So with Google creating that and number of queries increasing, especially with OpenAI, it forces us on the behavior optimization as well, that how can we optimize, when you were talking about discoverability, how do we get better discoverability through search? How do we process the natural language and offer the right or match the intent of a customer in a much more faster and leaner way? I think those are all the areas that we're expanding into. And then the third one is assisting technology across the board, because you can't just throw AI and agentic approach in one use case and then the rest is still legacy. Customer expectation is chat. I want to buy with chat. I'll say what products I want. Give me Apple Pay, give me Afterpay. I wanted to end my transaction there. I don't need to go to checkout to complete my transaction. So that whole journey of customer to see how I can tie in from homepage, just as an example, customer coming in from homepage to checkout completely with the agentic approach as well.
That'd be pretty cool. So thinking about the data, we've all talked about the data. In the world of AI, an AI reads the data much different than a person. So your PDP today is optimized really for somebody to really engage with your product. Hopefully that intent and personalization is there. But with AI, it's different. Typically they're trying to summarize, they want to summarize it into tables, and these very clear semantic endpoints. How do you differentiate that? I know we didn't rehearse this, but my team gave me a bunch of questions, but I didn't really look at them. So I thought, but I think this, for me, in talking to people here, there's one is optimizing things like PDP pages for people, but optimizing this data for an AI to read it, because the AI is trying to provide, just like you said, a very complete summary back to whoever requested it. How would you think about your data in the lens of making it optimized more for that versus a person on your site?
Yeah, and I think that's the challenge that I was trying to flag before. Like, follow the data. All of a sudden, we could have really horrible looking sites, right? Like, and that would be bad, right? Like, we should be brand stewards. We should do the best we can to create beautiful experiences. So it's within these confines, what are the best use cases? And I'll give a bad example because it's easy to make things up. It may make sense from a data perspective and a table perspective to put a bunch of raw numbers and information up the top of the page, move all the images to the bottom, because image doesn't matter necessarily to that LLM. And then you have just this giant checkout button, right? Just because that it needs to understand, here's all the sizes and here's the checkout. That would be a really shitty experience, right? And I challenge us all to not do the things that are that. So within that, how do we make sure we're creating both? And I think this goes to no one is figuring out yet, luckily, but we're gonna have to find that balance of understanding who's the customer versus who's the credit card, right? To understand the best way to set this up.
Great. Laura?
Yeah, I think we all just need to be piloting right now and testing, because maybe it's not practical or up to speed yet, but if we need to start thinking about, just to get started. I know you can feed chat or LLMs sort of JSON data or other data that's not even, you can go above and beyond and really get prepared for this, but I know all of us as teams are already crunched as it is, right? We all have so much on our plate, and to take a step back and to look at it from this perspective, it's going to be a hard thing to achieve. So I think some of these agents or whatnot also produce more content and more relevant like FAQs, or knowing what the customer is looking for. I think is a good place to start, because if before that, then we're just guessing, or we're using layers of other technology to tell us what needs to be included. So I think another thing that we're also doing is getting that information out of like co-marketers, for instance. So we're being able to go like on the CRM side, like I can now ask questions that I can get without having to pull everything out. So I also want everything in plain language too, so that I can make quick understandings and make changes about my site, So I think some of these things fall under like who's going to own it, who's going to really, be the ultimate person responsible for this, and whether it's a, collaboration between a system and an internal team. These things I think we're all just working out, but I think it's time. It's I know we're going to be talking about holiday, and I think the brands that are just starting or maybe early adopting these are going to be able to push forward quicker. So I think that's really all that matters is as long as you have something set in place, then you can move forward, because the technologies are also going to improve over time to make this easier. I mean, Shopify and the chat GPT and all the APIs that are coming out. Of course, they're going to evolve as we evolve too, and sort of solve for these problems before we actually have to get in there and manually figure it out on our own.
Umesh, you have anything to add there?
Maybe a couple of points. Yeah, I mean, they both pretty much articulated all of it. There's 2 points. One, let's look through the lens of a customer. The journey can now start anywhere, and add another fragmented channel, which is ChatGPT, and I'm actually querying what I want to query. So at that point, their personal AI is actually delivering the content for the customer. So your PDP is important if the journey is starting over there, but that packaged material is presented in a way that you want to hear, because you're talking to your own personal agent. So it could be title, description, maybe image, maybe not, or maybe pricing or whatever. So that packaged information is now sent to a completely different channel. A customer may come to your PDP or may not come to your PDP. So the call to actions could be add to cart directly from AI or OpenAI directly into your website or your mobile app, or directly into checkout as well. So that's where, if the customer is heading over there, as a retailer and as a technologist, I need to start thinking about how do I offer that experience. Rather than fighting a platform, it's more about how do I partner with the platform to look at combining that experience for my customer and be an early adopter or a first mover advantage there.
Well, I think leaning in on that question a little bit is we've talked a lot about product data and how do we prepare your product data so that it can be easily discovered and consumed by AI, so that as things slow down on typical search, and now it's really around AI search, how do you make sure that you're being discovered? But if the customer is checking out through AI, how does the rest of your brand get represented? How do you share your supply chain information, your available to promise inventory, let's say, or estimated delivery dates, or your refund and warranty policies? Has that factored into any of your kind of internal discussions, and how important do you think that is today versus maybe a year from now?
Do you want me to start?
Go for it.
Awesome.
You're ready to bring the heat now.
I think Laura touched on it earlier on. It's the FAQs, your flat pages that you have on your website, your terms and conditions, your privacy policies, and all of that is relevant in this scenario because it talks about the policies that you're offering from a brand perspective to the customer. A customer can be on product or off product, or on PetMeds channel or off PetMeds channel. And these are the questions that they can either come in and retrieve the information from our website or our mobile app and learn, or ask the agent about what is PetMeds' return policy, or what is PetMeds' subscription policy, and what would I do? So all those things are relevant. It's more about us keeping the content up to date on our site. We were talking about it earlier. I just came up with this term. It's the 4PA. So we know the 4 P's of marketing, which is price, promotion, placement, and product. Those are still relevant, but we need to add another acronym to it called A. It's the algorithm. So you need to build the 4 P's and package it in the right algorithmic fashion for each of the channels that you want to deliver your product, your content over to. So it's not just your marketing channels. Today, in addition to the marketing channels that we're doing, we need to start adding these specific algorithms for AI channels as well, or OpenAI channels as well.
The 4PA, I think our marketing team just created a slide on that.
I just created it while we were sitting and talking.
Let's roll with that one. That's awesome.
But even on that, right, because you're going to have a bunch of different ways to go about doing that. There's going to be 170 vendors. They're going to say, we know the right way to do it, and we're using this platform or this structure And as we get sold, on all the things from the buy side, getting through the noise is going to be really helpful to understand, what's real, what's truly impactful, and what has to go.
I think too, like a lot of this is different when you're on the marketing side because you're still thinking about things, not as much technology, but what are we going to do with traditional marketing when AI is involved, right? So I think thinking about like the cohorting that can be done with AI, so you already know so much about if they're interacting with the chat in a certain way, they fall into a certain segmentation, you can start to give personalized offers, right? Like talking about checkout, and that's another way that you can uphold, seeing it as like the brand piece that you were talking about, Aaron, that how if it's just data, then how do you uphold your brand? So branding your chat, branding the actual AI that you're using to fit and encouraging users to interact with it, so then you can pull out even more data. And then, giving the right offer to the right person at the right time and assisting conversion in that way, I think is going to be really important. And to speak to the inventory thing, if you read the Gartner paper, which I threw into chat and made a little podcast for myself, that's 50% of the equation, right? The real-time inventory is going to be super important. We're not as omni-channel, so it doesn't affect us in that way as much. But I think that also, maybe you can speak more to that, but that will be critical.
I mean, we're already pushing in the inventory details with LIA within Google Marketplace. So you push through the inventory data. So data does exist. We are pushing through
your brand is front and center. If you're purchasing through AI and you accept the order and you have to cancel it because you don't have the inventory, that's a hit. Okay, the clock went down like an order of magnitude in like 30 seconds. So I guess we're going to wrap it up with a lightning round because we have to do a little prediction here. Tech's moving faster than ever, as always. AI is moving faster. What do you guys think is going to happen this holiday season through the lens of AI? Is it going to make any behavioral changes or change buying patterns for you guys? Go ahead, Laura.
Okay.
Write this down for the next panel so we can measure this.
Again, we started piloting and testing just recently, so there's only so many things that we can actually execute on holiday this upcoming season. It's not too late. I want to say, like, we start now, like, it's July, probably can make some changes, but I think that brands that are going to consider doing this after holiday are really not going to be able to pull forward as it's going to be even more challenging. So for us, like, again, the special cohorting, the special more personalization on the marketing side, and just more optically meeting the customer, like appearing almost better than we are in some ways because we've taken on some new ways of shopping, I think are going to be our wins. And brands that have started doing this maybe in January or even earlier, I think are really going to see the impact this holiday the most.
Umesh?
We're going to see more and more retailers start doing, this is again my assumption, more digital assistants are going to pop up, either on the mobile app or within the websites, supporting the customers and people like me being better husbands at home as well, that I don't forget Christmas gifts.
I love that. So your reminder. Aaron.
I'll just add in short, there's going to be a bunch of marketers trying to bend over backwards explaining how AI drove their business for venture value. And be ready for all the LinkedIn posts about people saying things that aren't necessarily true.
That was a left field. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, they already said the smart thing, so
yeah, okay.
Shift something else.
All right. Well, I think we're in for a tsunami of change coming our way, and you heard it from the experts here. This is great. We put together a few recommendations from our lens of fabric and things you should probably think about. You heard these echoed, which is, make sure you look at your product data, particularly around, is it ready to be read by AI? Particularly the attribute side. What can you think about from a supply chain perspective? I really like what Umesh said here about making sure that your policies are published so it can be read. And then think about your inventory. I mean, if you're available to promise is there, your estimated delivery dates are there, it goes a long ways to conversion. And then really think about on that back end, right? Are you able to orchestrate through that entire journey so that when you do capture that order, you're fulfilling on your brand promise? So these are great. Thank you so much to everybody here. Thank you for CommerceNext for hosting this and everybody's time, and to our panelists. So much fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Good job.